Career Kit. I am your host, Aishni Garg. Today, I am here with Tony Stabach, a senior food waste diversion specialist. Thank you so much for being here. So, to jump right in with question one, I understand that you specialize in food waste and work as a diversion specialist. What exactly do you do in this role, and what impact does that make on our waste systems?
Yeah, that's a great question, Aishani. I work with the solid waste district in Hamilton County, and we are prioritizing organics waste streams and specifically food waste because it is the largest contributor to our waste system. We follow the EPA's food recovery scale. It used to be a hierarchy, they recently changed it to a scale. And so we prioritize education and source reduction. And then we look at recovery infrastructure in redistributing surplus wholesome food. And then we look at the management of waste. You're always going to have inedible food scraps. And so you're going to need some composting. You're going to need anaerobic digestion. So we look across the system to make sure that we are working with educational partners and agencies to educate people on the best ways to shop, serve, share, and store food. And through that, we run our Wasted Food Stops With Us campaign. You can always visit wastedfoodstopswithus.org to learn more. And then we start working with our recovery partners like upcycling agencies. Like here in Cincinnati, we have one called La Soup or Food for the Soul or our Soup Kitchen, Our Daily Bread. And then we also work with choice pantries. We really prioritize working with choice pantries as opposed to other redistribution avenues for food so that any wholesome food that is able to be redistributed to people passes through one of these, agencies so that they can monitor and check and make sure the food is still healthy and wholesome and tasty. And then also to best troubleshoot any of the issues that the population who are seeking that recovered food, any of the issues that they have. So we're working with one right now. It's called Cane Pantry in the Northside neighborhood in Cincinnati to host cooking classes to help their consumers understand how to eat on a budget, how to upcycle the food that they're getting from the pantry. And then we work with our small scale community infrastructure to process food scraps locally. And then we're conducting a study right now on where to eventually site larger food scrap processing facilities and anaerobic digestion facilities and, all that stuff. We are also blessed to have Kroger in our backyard. So Kroger is headquartered in Cincinnati. Hamilton County is the county in which Cincinnati sits. And so we work very closely with our partners at Kroger, especially through the Zero Hunger, Zero Waste program, to make sure that they are getting any wholesome food direct from their stores to people who need it most, or to animal feed, which is another avenue that we explore when it's not quite right for human consumption. It's still healthy, still wholesome, but is maybe tailor-made for, animal feed. We also work with breweries to do that. So we've got a lot of breweries who have spent grain that may not make the best bread, that may not make something great for humans, but animals love it. So let's go ahead and get that to our livestock friends.
No, that makes so much sense. Food waste is definitely a big part of sustainability, and like knowing what to do with the food that we can't really consume is a big part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, when did you first become interested in sustainability and food waste? Did you know going into college that this is what you wanted to do, or did you find out later?
I made a friend in kindergarten who was really passionate about the environment, and her mother was quite a knowledgeable, she was a healthcare worker, but she was very knowledgeable about trees. And so we spent a good portion of my childhood in the woods, in the forest, and my mom and her family, they loved food. So as a young child, I didn't know where that was going to go. I just knew that I liked to eat. I knew that I liked making food. I knew that my aunts and uncles worked for a local restaurant chain. And so I spent a lot of time at the restaurant and in their commissary where they made all the food. And then I spent a lot of time in the woods and we walked around and we got to know about nature. And then I went to college and I was going to be a teacher. So I was going to be a social studies teacher. I've always been very passionate about government and local government and people's rights and social justice. And I was going to be a social studies teacher. And I did my student teaching and I loved it. And I was like, I am too young to be a teacher. I am not old enough to teach high school. So I decided to do the AmeriCorps program, and I was running a college access program in a rural community when the largest employer left. And I was already kind of dabbling in some community agriculture. And so I worked with a variety of leaders in the community and at the college that was sponsoring my AmeriCorps position to develop what was called the Grow Food, Grow Hope program, which focused on cross-training and retraining people in agriculture, and specifically getting people back into the soil through a community garden program. And so I ran that. I went off to grad school. I got a master's in public policy where I specialized in environmental science from Drexel University. And then I started working for OSU Extension and was a consultant in Cincinnati Public Schools around agriculture education, and then was the 4-H educator in Hamilton County. And that turned into the job I have now, managing organics waste streams.
Wow, that's a very long journey from teacher to food diversion waste specialist. That's
Yeah.
extremely interesting. So you kind of touched on this a little bit, but what did you specifically major in and where did you go to college? And then following that, what opportunities did you get right outside of college that jump-started your specifically food diversion waste specialist career?
Yeah. So, and I guess I should go back and talk a little bit about that college experience because it led to what happened later. So I went to a little Quaker college called Wilmington College. I love them. They're great. I actually still teach a class for them. So I teach a global issues course for Wilmington College on the side of my full-time job. And I love teaching for Wilmington. So I got my bachelor's in history and a bachelor's in education, and I specialized in socio-political studies. So in Ohio, that means I'm licensed to be a history teacher, or it's all of social studies, I should say. So when I did my student teaching, I taught economics, I taught history, I taught American history, world history, I taught psychology. So it ran the gamut. I did all the social studies things. It was a lot of fun. But I really knew that I was not old enough to be a high school teacher at 22 years old. I looked at everybody. I'm like, you all look like you are the same age I am, because you are. And I was like, I need a little more distance between myself and the students I'm going to teach. And so the college I went to, Wilmington College, they had an AmeriCorps program through Ohio Campus Compact, which was a social, how do I want to describe them? They basically at that time were really prioritizing community service on college campuses. They'd been doing that since the 90s. They had an AmeriCorps program where you basically worked with the university to create opportunities for students, faculty, and staff to be engaged in the community. And I was like, great. They wanted to create a new position around youth college access. I was like, I went to school to be a teacher and I need a little more time figuring out what I want to do. That sounds like an awesome opportunity. While I was in college, I was very involved with our, we called it the Office for the Center for Service and Civic Engagement. So it's the Office of Service Learning. And I did a lot of environmental stuff with them. I was the recycling coordinator. I built the college recycling program. And so I got to know all the players. And I was like, this sounds easy. I'm going to do an easy thing. I'm going to take some more time to figure out what I want to do. So I did 2 years with the AmeriCorps program through this Ohio Campus Compact program at Wilmington College when I had the opportunity to create this agricultural redevelopment program with a number of leaders. And so that was a wonderful opportunity. And that's when I decided that, there was a moment there where I was like, I'm going to go to law school. When I was doing AmeriCorps, I was like, yeah, I really probably want to do that someday. But also it was 2007. There's an economic downturn. There's no jobs. My friends who are lawyers are making less than I was in AmeriCorps. And I was like, I'm just going to go get a master's in public policy because I really enjoy policy analysis and I enjoyed the opportunity to dig deeper into statistics, which sounds crazy, but I really wanted to develop that skill set and that capacity. And so I looked at a number of universities. Drexel was starting a brand new public policy program. And so I was like, that sounds perfect because I really need to craft my own path. I wanted to know what I wanted to do. So I went off to grad school in Philadelphia. I went to Drexel and got a master's in public policy, focusing on environmental sciences.
Well, perfect. So right after that, what professional experiences did you have before that led you to this specific role?
Absolutely. The work I did with the Grow Food, Grow Hope program at Wilmington College is what makes me good at my job today. My 8 years with OSU Extension were wonderful, and I was able to craft and hone a lot of skills. But it was those early experiences as an AmeriCorps member. And briefly, when I finished grad school, I came back to Ohio knowing that I needed to be close to my family again. And I closed out that grant for Wilmington. I worked there for about a year and a half to close out that grant. So that Grow Food, Grow Hope experience was what makes me good at my job today. I was able to connect, in a small town, in an isolated. It was actually really interesting. It's called a micropolitan area, so it's like an odd area, kind of between Cincinnati, Dayton, Columbus, that has its own identity. And so it was small enough that I was able to meet all the players, to understand how a community works as a system, but also small enough that I could make an impact. And so when I took this job, all those things I had learned immediately came to the forefront of everything I was doing. And I was able to implement things in a new way. And it was really great to have 10 years between those experiences where I worked for another university and did other things, because I was really able to specialize in working in this urban context and working with the diversity and the complicated nature of an urban environment, as opposed to when I was 22 and 25 years old in a rural town where, like, that was such a great place for me to get my feet wet. This is a great place for me to actually make some huge impacts that can change the way that we're managing waste and managing our built environments.
No, that makes a ton of sense. So, lastly, what advice do you have for a high school student who is interested in pursuing sustainability or waste diversion, and what opportunities can they specifically take advantage of in high school?
So I would say to any high schooler, and again, I was a high school teacher for a hot minute, and I really think that that's where a lot of our future dreams and aspirations come from. I think that those experiences we have in high school, those teachers, those people in the community that we put ourselves around, are um, are foreshadowing what we're going to do. And so I really think about who you want around you. Start thinking about your community, and think about yourself as like a CEO a little bit. Like, you are the CEO of your own life. I hate to say that. It sounds so cheesy. It was such a thing when I was growing up. People are like, you're the CEO of your own life, but you really are. And you can start thinking about, like, who are the people you need around you to make you successful. I was talking to someone in my office the other day, and they were talking about how one of their friends became really successful because when they were really young, they had this really great mentor who taught them all these amazing things. And they really wish now, when they look back, that they had found that person, or found a person like that for them. And so I can't tell you how important it is. It doesn't have to be an official mentor relationship. Just find someone you like to be around, someone you would like to learn more about, someone you'd like to be like. You always want to be yourself, but it's good to have models. And just find opportunities to work with those people. So when I was in high school, I was in the student government. Our advisor, Mrs. Randall, was wonderful. I thought she was super cool. She was a social studies teacher. It's probably why I thought I wanted to be a social studies teacher, and why, like, if that job presented itself today, I would very seriously consider it. Except I don't know that I want to be a teacher anymore. Um, but I really liked spending time in that space, learning how she was doing the things she was doing, why she was passionate about what she was doing. I also was very involved in music, and I was in the choir, and our choir director also happened to be our choir director at church. So, I spent like 6 days a week with her. But I really learned a lot from Miss Blake about just like how to connect with the world, how to advocate for yourself. What I liked about her is she was this very strong, independent person who was just doing their thing. And I was like, I can learn from this. And you don't realize you're going to learn from it when you're a kid. You're just like, I like this person. They're really interesting. They also respect my boundaries and treat me like I'm a high school student who has things to learn. And I really appreciate that. And so, I think surrounding yourself with those experiences, but get involved in all the extracurriculars, get involved in your student government, get involved in FCCLA. In my school, they did a mock trial program. They did the Model UN. All those things are important. I was in a bunch of plays. I really liked being in the theater, and so I did a number of different shows when I was in high school and college, and I learned to translate something from German for that. We rewrote songs. Like, you get very interesting skills out of that. Do all the things that interest you, because if they're interesting to you when you're young, they can become skills that get you paid when you get older. Or if they don't get you paid, they at least help you enjoy life. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying life. I always thought I needed to be rich. And then I look around and I'm like, yeah, my life is fine. I'm good. I really like having a pension in my job. That's the only kind of rich I need to have. So joy, you just have to find joy. Just surround yourself with those opportunities when you're in high school to find joy.
And what opportunities can they take advantage of right now?
Yeah, so when you're in college and you're getting ready to graduate from college, there are so many great service programs. If you've never heard the term domestic service, I encourage you to look that up. The AmeriCorps program is a domestic service option that I took advantage of. It was 2 year, you can do up to 2 years and get money toward your student loans or educational expenses through the Siegel Fellowship Fund. So, like, that's really nice. That's part of why I did it. Because I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to need some money to pay off those loans. College isn't cheap. But you get really great job experience. You, in the AmeriCorps VISTA program, which is specifically what I did, VISTA stands for Volunteers in Service to America. You are in an administrative position. So you're not actually going out and you're not chopping down trees and you are not direct serving people in a hospital. You are developing the systems that allow community members and volunteers and other nonprofit organizations to do that work. So while I was a VISTA member at Wilmington College through Ohio Campus Compact, I managed our community service work study fund. So I had the opportunity to put student workers in various nonprofits in the community to do good work. I evaluated the success of those programs. I met with those leaders of those nonprofits, learned what they needed. Super fun, super interesting, super amazing stuff. There are Season Good Fellows. There are Fuse Fellows, which are great opportunities if you're interested in public service. There are Climate Corps Fellows or Climate Corps Vistas, amazing opportunities there to go out and really advocate for the environment. There's also the Peace Corps. I'm sure you've heard of it before. It's a great opportunity to do international work. I would encourage you to start reading about the United Nations. If you're unfamiliar with the UN and the Human Development Index and the development goals, like, definitely learn about those things and see what opportunities exist. The UN often has fellowships in New York and other places around the world that you can consider. There's also a number of faith-based opportunities. So the Friends Service Commission is a great opportunity if you're looking to get connected to more of a religious focused service opportunity. So Friends Service is part of the Quaker faith, the Society of Friends. They're really great people to get around and do some amazing things. There's United Methodist Committee on Relief, UMCOR. They do all kinds of great things around the world. So there's an unlimited number of opportunities. And while people in the business sector often have to take internships that don't pay because they're trying to, like, climb the ladder to get in the public sector, you're not going to make a lot of money, but a lot of these come with some kind of stipend to sustain your life while you're doing it. So, when I did the AmeriCorps program, I made $10,000 a year. I was not rich. I was barely scraping by, but it was such a worthwhile experience. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I really enjoyed that opportunity because it's made me everything I am today and given me everything in a lot of ways, it's given me what I have. So definitely take advantage of all those public service opportunities. If there's something you're interested in, the great thing is we've got the internet today and it's pretty robust. Like, just get on there and Google or search, whatever passion you have and put the word fellowship after it. Something's going to come up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for sure. And I will be linking all of those opportunities on my website. If any of them sparked your interest and you need help finding them, they will be linked right next to this episode. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciated your time. And to all the listeners, tune in to the next episode of the Climate Career Kit.
Thanks.